What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Mike Roach Podcast, where I talk everything sports, politics, culture, and beyond. Okay, now, folks, usually when I get into a podcast, and I say this often, I'm not often pissed off from before I actually start the damn podcast. But in this case, I actually am. I got to share something with you here that I saw on X. It's an article about Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, okay, and them implementing the Black Justice Strategy, an initiative the government hopes will address systemic racism by reforming the criminal justice system to treat Black offenders with greater lenience and offer them exclusive social programs. Now, I do want to point out to you, this is an article that I am reading on Substack, okay, that was making its round on X, and I'm going to show it to you here so that you can see where I'm getting the information here from, okay? I'm going to share my screen with you for a second. Did it share? Here we go. And sorry, I just closed it on you. Let me pull it back up. Here it is here, folks. And listen, I want to point out something. This was written by Noah Jarvis, and it is from, I'll tell you in a second, True North Wire. Okay? The Department of Justice released the Black Justice Strategies Implementation Plan, the first step in establishing a 10-year framework to roll out more than a dozen policies and programs recommended by the Strategies Steering Committee. Okay? Now I'm going to read a little bit more to you here. Not the entire thing, just a little bit more before I give you my comments on this and why I believe this is absolute nonsense. And it is the liberals that are trying to buy Black votes, pretty much. One of the stated goals of the policy is to reduce the share of Black offenders in Canada's correctional institutions. To develop the strategy, the government convened a steering committee made up of anti-racist academics and lawyers who published a report in 2024 issuing 114 recommendations. The recommendations include changes to policing practices. That will not happen. The law and courts, the correctional experience, the parole process, and an improved standard of living for Black Canadians. Some of the recommendations in the report include cutting incarceration rates of Black and Indigenous Canadians by 50%. It doesn't say cutting down the crime. It says cutting down the incarceration rates, expanding the use of impact of race and culture assessment, the legalization of hard drugs, and increasing the minimum wage to $21 per hour. Folks, there is a lot to get into when speaking about this, and I'm not going to make this a long podcast either, but there are definitely a lot of things that I got to touch on that absolutely make no sense to me, and this is clearly just a way of liberals trying to get the Black vote by trying to implement this garbage, which is actually really insulting, by the way. Not just insulting to me and Black Canadians. I can't speak for everyone. But this is kind of insulting to Canadians overall. Because do you really think that people don't understand what's going on here in regards to this? I mean, this is crazy. The implementation plan outlines how the federal government will be spending the $78 million allocated to implementing some of the Black Justice Strategies recommendations over the next 2 years. The Trudeau government is committing $18.2 million over the next 2 years for the RCMP to establish an anti-racism unit meant to combat racism in the federal police force. Let me explain something to you, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to be tricking anybody by doing this. And you're not going to change the mind of the people who are already doing these jobs. You might think you are, and you might put money into it, but damn it, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to change. Okay? First of all, you're telling me that the laws are going to be more lenient for Black Canadians. No Black Canadians are asking for that, by the way. No black people in this country are asking for that. Black people are asking to be treated fairly under the law. To being treated fairly under the law. Not being treated like they're incompetent or there is something ingrained in their brain to let them commit crimes and just let them get away with it. Nobody is saying that, and nobody wants that. What I'm saying is, in regards to being treated fairly under the law, if a black person, a white person, an Asian person commit the same crime, they do the same time. Not one person gets 2 years, another person gets 5 years, and another person gets 8 years. You commit the same crime, you go to jail for the same amount of time. That is being treated equally under the law. That is what people want. Not this foolishness and this nonsense. So you're going to make the laws more lenient? More lenient. So that means if somebody commits a crime against me, I am supposed to care that one person does more time than the other, even the crime was done against me. Nobody cares and nobody's asking for that. That is complete garbage. You do a crime, you go to jail. You do violent crimes, you go to jail for even longer. Nobody gives a damn what the color of your skin is, who you look. You need to go to jail, period, for the same amount of time if you're doing the same crime. It doesn't matter what your skin color looks like. That is the point of what I'm trying to say here. And I will say that to say this. There is nothing that can be done by the government at this point, at least in my opinion. I mentioned I don't speak for everyone, that is going to help the black community. The black community can only be helped at this point by black people in their community. At least that's the way that I see it. How are we raising our young people? What are we teaching them? What is the stance and the percentage of the nuclear family in the black community? That would help as well. Teaching them and being on their ass about trades and academics and financial literacy. Us as black men especially standing up and making sure that these kids are disciplined, getting together, having more conversations with each other, and not just black men, the black community as a whole. This has to start at a grassroots level. Throwing all this damn money in here, talking about trying to lower the incarceration rates and being more lenient, that's just a bunch of garbage. It's a bunch of garbage. And that is the liberals looking for your vote. It's insulting. And it's insulting to everybody, in my opinion, in this country. If you actually read and believe this crap is actually going to work, it ain't going to work. How much more lenient can this government already be? I did an interview. I've mentioned this multiple times. I spoke to Clayton Campbell, who's the president of the Toronto Police Association. There was a guy on bail with 78 convictions, ramming a Hummer into police vehicles. 78 convictions out on bail. Ramming a damn car into cruisers, police cruisers. How much more lenient can you be? How much more lenient can you be? The only thing you're doing is incentivizing people to commit more crimes. Legalization of hard drugs. Come on, man. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And now, I get it. I'm an acquired taste. A lot of people are not going to agree with what I have to say about this, but it's the truth, if you ask me. You can't just slap Band-Aids on stuff and expect that it's going to disappear. That's not the way this is going to work. Clearly, we've seen that the last, 9-10 years that ain't going to work? And you think by doing this is going to make it better? Really? Does that make any sense? I don't even know what to say about this. I really don't. It's insulting. It's actually insulting to see something like this. And if you don't think that we know and understand that you're trying to get votes at this point, it is interesting that an article like this will start making its rounds just around this time when it's going to be time to head to the polls soon. It's going to be time to head to the polls soon. And listen, if anybody wants to have a debate about this with me, feel free. Feel free. You can always reach out to me. I'll reply. I'll speak about it. I won't shy away from it. And there's a whole bunch of other factors that have to do with this topic as well. And that's a whole different story for another day. But I'm telling you right now, what we're seeing in this article and what I am reading here and what they're trying to implement is garbage. And none of this is going to help anything in regards to the black community. We got to go back we got to break this whole thing apart. And we got to break this whole thing down as to how us in the black community are going to be raising these kids and preventing crime in the first place, not preventing incarceration rates. That doesn't even make any sense. So, regardless of what race it is, yes, specifically we're talking about black people here, right now. But what we're saying is, instead of figuring out why and understand our young people are struggling, we're going to continue to let them struggle, but don't let them bear the consequences for what they're actually doing. That absolutely makes no sense to me. At least that's the way that I'm interpreting what is being said in this article. Once again, I will leave it in the description, but this is nonsense, and it's not going to stop here. This conversation will continue, and I will be back again, folks. If you like what you hear on this podcast, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, and share this podcast. Okay, folks, it's your boy Mike Roach. I'll be back again soon. I'm out.